Welcome to OAA Now, your home for Oakland Activities Association news and information. Here's your host, Sammy Taramina.
Welcome to a special OAA Now football preview show here on Sammy Taramina, blog of the Dragon's Den, blog of Inside the OAA, and one of the hosts of Tamina's Orion Television. I'd like to thank you for watching us on ON TV and also on YouTube, and also hearing us on the Local Voice on SoundCloud on the Local Voice. So we got this week, it's the white division. Last week we previewed the blue division. Next week we're going to preview the red division. So this week we got the white. So let's talk about our first team. This is a team that comes down from the red division to the white division. That's the Red Hawks of Troy Athens. This is a football team that's went through a lot. 14-42 since 2011. They got a new coach in there, and Billy Keenis, who takes over for Josh Hepner. And Billy Keenis right now, when you look at him, of course, he is in the building. He was the former offensive coordinator at Troy Athens. So here's Billy Keenis at the podium.
Good afternoon. I'm Billy Keenis. I'm the head football coach at Troy Athens High School. I want to thank Rochester for putting this on. Great event. Coach Harrington, congratulations on a great career. And I want to thank that guy right there. I coached at Oxford for 3 years as an assistant. And as we're starting this program here, I lean on the things that guy taught me. Hell of a man, hell of a coach. He knows that. I'm going to talk about my kids. I got Bobby Burney, he's a quarterback, senior. Austin Keenan, senior running back and DB. Brandon Alvedri, senior linebacker and fullback. And David DeMann, he's a senior offensive tackle, defensive tackle. Tough year last year for us, but to be honest with you, that seems like a long time ago. So, like Coach Flaherty said, I loved it. It's just about hard work, and that's what I've been telling these guys, and that's what we're doing, just working hard. I wish everybody the best of luck, and like Coach Blackstock and Coach Rowley and everybody said, to all the players out here, I applaud you. You know, in today's world, not a lot of young men want to do what you're doing. It's really tough, but it's the greatest game in the world. And I applaud all the players in here. What you're doing is awesome, so keep it up. Everybody stay healthy, have a hell of a year. Thank you.
Troy Athens used its, Coach Keenis used his vintage Bud Riley impression from a couple years ago. Of course, Keenis did play under Riley when he was at Oxford, and of course he is a fellow 2006 alum. So here is Billy. I had an interview with Billy Keenis talking about the Red Hawks this upcoming year. I got Troy Athens football coach Billy Keenis here, first year at Troy Athens, hoping to turn around a 14-42 record since 2011. Talk about the, I know you don't like to talk about the past, but you were the offensive coordinator at Athens under Josh Hepner. Talk about how Coach Hepner's helped you with your coaching style.
Yeah, Coach Hep, he's been a big help. He's really just kind of taught me about, managing a program and kind of communication with parents and kids and different things. So he's over at Adams now, and I wish him all the best, and he's a great friend of mine.
Talk about your quarterback, of course, Bobby Burney. Very good quarterback a year ago, young quarterback. What are your expectations for Bobby Burney?
Bobby is a great kid, great leader. It's a new system for him, so he's never really ran this type of offense, but he's been great in the summer. I think what we're going to do fits his skill set. I'm expecting big things out of Bobby this year.
What are your expectations this year?
Our expectations are to work each day and to get better. We have a long way to go. I mean, we didn't win a game last year, so we got to get better. That's my expectations, is to work every day and get better.
Thank you real much, Coach.
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks, buddy.
As mentioned, Keenis did come over from Berkeley a year ago. Of course, that was the same exact comments he said in my interview last year when he was at Berkeley. Of course, get better every day. And when you look at a team that last year went 0-9, there's nowhere to go but up for Troy Athens. Of course, they're in a new division now, which is going to help them out a lot. The schedule is going to be very daunting when you look at the schedule. They do have to play at Birmingham Seaholm. That's going to be the first meeting since 1999. Of course, that meeting was won by Troy Athens 21-13 back in 1999. So it's going to be a very interesting matchup, a clash of different styles. Of course, Troy Athens' system going up against Seaholm. Of course, the Seaholm runs that veer. Of course, Keenis should know Seaholm pretty well when he was at Berkeley last year. And then October the 3rd, and then August 31st, they got to play Harrison. It's their first meeting since 2006. It did not go well for Athens. They lost 49-6 to Harrison. Of course, the game's at Farmington Hills, so that's going to be another tough matchup for Troy Athens. Then they got to play September 7th at Rochester, of course, against Rochester. It's their first home game of the year. Of course, Rochester won 35-14 back in 2013. Be another tough matchup, be an interesting matchup there between the Red Hawks and the Falcons. Then September 14th, that's going to be a game I think that will be very interesting. Of course, that's going to be at Lake Orion for Troy Athens. Of course, the Red Hawks have lost the last 2 meetings at Troy between the with the Dragons, but the last time Troy Athens went in Lake Orion, of course, Troy Athens won 21-14 back in 2015. That was when Keenis was the offensive coordinator at Troy Athens. And then, of course, September the 21st, they gotta play Oak Park. It's the first meeting since 2010 when Troy Athens won 37-16. But this is a different Oak Park team, though, that Troy Athens is going to be seeing this year. Then September 28th, they got to play Groves. It's their first meeting since 2006 when they won 29-26. So that'll be a very interesting matchup there against Groves. And then, of course, week 7, they got to play Stony Creek. Of course, Troy Athens is 2-5 all time against Stony Creek. That's not a good record right there. They got to fix that and address that. And then October the 12th, they got to play Troy. Of course, of course, that rivalry with Troy. Of course, Troy has Athens is 4-7 against their rival since 2006. Got to fix that. And then, of course, they close out the year with Oxford. Of course, it's Billy Keenis's old school going back to Oxford. Of course, he was at Berkeley last year. They went to Oxford. But Athens overall has lost the last 2 meetings to Wildcats, so it's going to be a very interesting matchup between Troy Athens and Oxford. So that'll be a good matchup between the Wildcats and the Red Hawks. Very interesting clashes and different styles in that matchup heading into that one. So Troy Athens, a lot of expectation, a lot of promise heading into the year. They got some questions they got to address, particularly at defense, particularly at linebacker. I mean, it's going to be an interesting year for Troy Athens heading into the season. My next team we're going to talk about is the Falcons of Groves. When you look at the Falcons a year ago, we're a playoff team, but had a tough loss to Brandon Brother Rice in the playoffs. This team's been rolling as of late. So here's Brendan Flaherty at the podium talking about the Falcons.
Afternoon. My name is Brendan Flaherty. I'm the head coach of Groves High School. I want to thank Coach Vern and Rochester High School for having us. It's a great event. It's great for high school football, especially our division. So we're pleased to be here. We're pumped up. Coach Harrington, I'm just gonna, Coach Harrington, when I was my second year coaching, they had a regional game, I think, or a semi game at our place, and I was facilitating, opening the gates up and letting them come in there, and they had a practice, and he took me under his wing and said, "Come on out here, just check this out." Gave me a practice script, let me watch the whole practice and get after it. And I was a fan before, but John Harrington's first class, and everybody will say that in here, and everybody will, say about his, he just gets the players. Yeah, he gets some pretty talented players, but if you ever seen him and his staff out scouting, and I saw that early on, and it's like, they worked their tail off, and even Coach Harrington, he had his briefcase with his Hawk sticker on it. I thought, that's what I got to do. That's what I got to do. So I got a briefcase, put a Falcon sticker on it, and I'm a huge fan, and your first class coach, and we're going to miss you, and you're what public high school football is about. And it's not just the wins, it's the building of men. So a mentor and a huge fan and follower from afar. We're in, Groves High School. We're the white division. It's a great division. Here's the deal. Welcome, Coach Shields. Welcome, Coach Merlo. Is Coach Merlo here? Here he is. Welcome. You had a great legacy. Your dad is a hell of a coach, great man. He is a hell of a coach. So welcome. And this division is, the whole league is fantastic. Coach Bellamy, congrats. All right. Coach Richardson, congrats on getting to the finals. Coach, getting to the finals. Here's the deal. If you don't work your tail off, everybody goes, wow, we're working hard. If you don't work your butt off, you're going to get beat. You're probably going to get drilled. So you got to work your tail off to just have a chance. You know what I'm saying? And if you don't work your tail off, you got no chance in this league. And it's awesome. And I think we just keep that. I think once playoffs go, I think we should create a united front. Let's get as many OA teams as we can down to Ford Field. Let's protect it. Let's take care of each other. A bunch of cool dudes in here, great coaches. On Friday night we all want to kick each other's ass. That's true. But when we're done, we should have a united front. Don't send out film to other people, other leagues. Take care of our league. Okay? It's building our brand. So playoff time comes, let's protect our brand. Okay? Got three gentlemen with me. I'll let them introduce themselves, tell you what position, and a little bit about themselves.
I'm DeMonte McCurry, free safety, and I'm a senior.
I'm Josh Salter. I'm a senior, play defensive back. Henry Van Fossen, senior, strong safety.
Okay, so these are our three caps for next year. As you can see, by evidence, size will be, our biggest strength. We got some big dudes at Groves, but we're pumped up for the season. Again, thanks to Rochester, Coach Gil Buck, except for whenever we play you whatever week. All right, thanks.
When you look at Groves this year, of course, this is a perennial playoff team. Of course, they have made the playoffs the last 7 of the last 8 years. So I caught up with Flaherty. I'm talking about last year and, of course, his expectations heading into the year. Hey,
How are you, man? Thanks for doing this stuff.
Yeah, we appreciate it. I got the coach of Birmingham Groves, Brandon Flaherty here, of course. Last year was a very successful year, and this year you got a lot coming back. So talk about the expectations of the Falcons.
Yeah, well, thanks. I appreciate that. So, yeah, we got a lot of guys returning on defense. I thought last year we had great success early. We carried on through the playoffs, but I think, as a coach, I don't think I really prepared them well for the playoffs. I think we kind of streamlined. We had a big win, upset one against Harrison, and after that, I'm not sure we improved and took the necessary steps to make a run in the playoffs. I think we kind of flatlined middle of the year, and that hurt us against Bryce there in the playoffs.
Talk about your first game. You're going against West Bloomfield first game, so that's a tough matchup. So what's your thoughts about playing Ron Bellamy in the first game?
Well, we're excited, but at the same time, they create problems for us. They're extremely talented. They're big, and they're fast. But we get them at home, so we're excited about playing them at home. Past, 2-3 years we've been going to their place, and we get them at our place finally. Our guys are excited. They've been working hard. It gives some motivation. If they're not working hard, we get our butts kicked first week. So we've been working hard, and we're looking forward to the opportunity.
What are your expectations this year?
Improve each week, compete each week, and get in the state playoffs.
Thank you real much, Coach. Groves is going to be an interesting matchup when you look at the schedule. Of course, the strength of Groves' team is going to be their defense. Oddly enough, their weakness is their coaching and experience, which is very odd. But let's look at the matches for Groves. Of course, they open up with West Bloomfield. Of course, last year it was not a good feeling for Groves in the Swamp. They've lost their last 2 meetings in the Swamp. Now they get Groves in. Now they get West Bloomfield at Beverly Hills. It's going to be a very interesting matchup. And I think it's gonna be a test to see where Groves is at heading into the year, and that will be a perfect test, especially the first 2 games. Including when you look at their league play when they open up against Oak Park in Beverly Hills last year. Oak Park handed Groves a 34-14 defeat last year against them, and then September the 7th they got to play Stony Creek. Of course, Stony Creek they beat Stony Creek 14-3 a season ago. Of course, now that'll be a tough matchup going over to Stony Creek, and it's going to be very interesting what happens in that matchup there. On September the 14th, they play Rochester. Of course, last year, Groves won 31-13 over there. Now they got to go to Rochester, so that'll be a very interesting matchup right there. And then they rekindle an old rivalry at Bloomfield Hills. They won 47-19 back in 2013, of course. It'll be very interesting, that matchup, of course. A good coaching match between Dan Lauria and Brandon Flaherty there. And then September the 28th, they play Troy Athens. Of course, it's their first meeting since 2006, where Groves lost 29-26 to the Red Hawks. And then October the 5th, they got to play Troy. Of course, Groves won 21-3 last year. And then on week 8, they play Harrison at home. Of course, Groves has won the last 2 meetings against the Hawks. Of course, both of them were really close games, and they close out the year with Birmingham Seahome at home. Of course, Groves has won the last 4 meetings against their arch rivals in Birmingham. So it's going to be a really interesting match between Groves and Seahome. A lot of storylines heading in for this team. I think I'm high on this team. I like this team a lot. But this is going to be a team where they're gonna be tested early. So if they start 0-2, it wouldn't surprise me. But if they go out and go 2-0, this could be a team that worth mentioning heading into the year. So Groves, a team, very talented team, of course, led by led by Cleo Dawsey. So this is going to be a team that's going to be a really good team heading into the season. Okay, now we come back. We're going to talk about 3 more teams here on the OAA football preview show, White Edition, here on Media Day. Welcome back to a special OAA Football Media Day preview here. I'm Sammy Termina. This is the White Edition here. We're going to preview the Hawks of Farmington Hills Harrison. Of course, this is a team in their final year as a school, but this was a team also last year that went to the state final year ago. They ran into a very good Muskegon team, and it was a very tough way for them to go down last year. But here is legendary Harrison coach John Harrington explaining the state of the Hawks.
Well, first of all, I'd like to say you coaches are making me hard for me to build up my hate for you going into this season, saying all these nice things. So nobody says anything nice anymore. I know Bud won't, so I don't worry about that. I know. Eric, thanks a lot for hosting this. I have 3 of our leaders of our team here today. They'll introduce themselves, and then I'll have a couple things to say about them.
I'm Rod Hurd, 3-year starter, senior, cornerback, and running back.
Maverick Hansen, 3-year starter, offensive, defensive line.
I'm Ben Williams. I've been on varsity for 3 years. I'm an athlete, and I'm a senior.
Athlete? Oh, plays it all. Okay, I'd just like to say a couple things about them. They're the real leaders of our team. Rod will be going to Northwestern. He was All-State last year as a corner. He'll be playing corner at Northwestern. He's going to play running back, cornerback, maybe some quarterback, kick return. He'll probably do quite a few things for us. Great player. Mav is going to CMU, one of our vocal leaders, one of the toughest guys on our team. Ben, one of the faster players in this area. He's the one that ran the kickoff back against Muskegon in the state finals. And Rod and Ben together were on the 400-meter relay team that won the state championship, which was a great accomplishment. As I went into this last year, and truthfully at Harrison, we're not trying to stress that it's the last year. We just want business as usual. We're in a unique situation. We'll have about 600 students in the school. My biggest fear is we won't have a JV team. We've been trying like mad to get a few more guys so we could have a JV. It doesn't look real good right now, but we'll find out after doubles. We have 42 total players in the program, and we have a lot of good athletes. We have 15 returning lettermen, 3 starters on offense, 4 on defense, and there's going to be, truthfully, a lot of legacy stuff and hoopla around the school. And I'm telling the team, concentrate on one thing, going out and trying to win the game. That's the only thing that really matters. The other things will all come. But appreciate it, Eric, having this. I've enjoyed this, and I've enjoyed the relationship with all the coaches in this league. All great competitors, no question about it. Thank you.
The strength of Harrison's team this year is going to be the running game and the kicking game. They got to address the quarterback issue. Of course, they do have a guy named Roderick Hurd, who, as Harrington mentioned in the interview, with going to Northwestern next year. But when you look at the quarterback situation, that has got to be a big concern. And also depth. Depth, of course, Harrison has mentioned, of course, this is their final year as a school. But Harrington likes to keep things business as usual. And as in this interview with Harrington, it is business as usual. I got the living legend, John Harrington at Farmington Hills Harrison here. Talk about last year, of course, he went to the Division III state final, lost a very good Muskegon team. How did that feel like, even though it was not a good feeling?
Well, actually, sometimes you just got to admit that the other team is a little better than you. And we played hard in that state championship game. I was just happy to get there. I didn't know for a while if we were going to get our 6 wins. And we upset Oak Park and were able to get into the tournament and got to the final. So let's put it this way. Of course, you're disappointed not to win the state, but it didn't stay with me that long. I knew we did the best job we could.
Talk about your quarterback situation. Of course, that's very interesting over there. Of course, you got two very good you got two quarterbacks that you didn't mention in your conference. But talk about your quarterback situation.
Well, it's still in flux, and it's probably my biggest concern right now. They all have certain talents. Rod could definitely do it as far as the running game. Heiser, one of our candidates, throws well a lot of the time. Max Martin, the junior, has a lot of skills. But I'm going to have to figure out who it is in a hurry and figure out exactly what kind of offense we're going to run.
What is your expectation this year, Coach?
Well, like always, get in the playoffs and make a long run. And I don't worry about the fact that it's our last year or the fact that we don't have great numbers. Business as usual at Harrison.
Thank you really much, Coach.
All right. Thanks.
When you look at Harrison this year, I was kind of a little surprised when I heard rumblings that Harrison could be back in Division III for playoffs despite the enrollment issue with them. So I'm a little concerned and flux with that. But it'll be interesting to see what happens with Harrison when it comes down the schedule. The schedule for Harrison, very interesting, of course, in Harrison's final season of school. They open up the year with North Farmington, of course. This is a team that they've won, they have really owned. They've won 15 straight against North Farmington. The last time that North Farmington beat Harrison was 1978. So North Farmington, there's a lot of pressure in this matchup for them. So very interesting how that's going to unfold between Harrison and North Farmington at home. And then, of course, the next matchup they play is Troy-Athens. Of course, this is a matchup where Athens, this is the first meeting since 2006. Harrison won 49-6 over the Redhawks. So it'll be very interesting how Troy-Athens does against Harrison in that one. That could be a trap game for Harrison because, as mentioned, the lack of depth could be a serious concern heading in that matchup there. Excuse me. And then, of course, they play Oak Park. Last year, of course, Harrison stunned Oak Park 17-14, of course, giving Harrington the tie for the record. Of course, he broke it the next week against Berkeley. Oak Park, of course, they're a loaded team this year, so that's going to be a very interesting match for Harrison, of course, when they go down to Oak Park. And then also what makes it's a 6 o'clock kickoff, so that's going to be very interesting there. And then, of course, they got to play Troy. Of course, the Colts, Harrison has owned Troy. They've won the last 6 meetings against Troy, of course, including last year when they won 30-3 against them. And then, of course, Week 5, homecoming, Saturday afternoon, traditional Saturday afternoon game, 1 o'clock game. It's going to be against Stony Creek. Harrison, of course, last year went to Stony Creek and won 47-8 last year. Of course, Stony Creek's got a new staff there. Curious to see how that matchup goes. There's going to be a lot of tears in that one on them. Harrison's final homecoming when they play Stony Creek that day on Saturday afternoon. September 28th, they're at Rochester. Of course, Harrison's won the last 11 straight meetings against Rochester. So that's going to be really interesting there. And then October 5th, that'd be a good one. Harrison against Adams. It's at home for Harrison. The last time those two teams met, I believe it was at Harrison. Adams won 21-9 in 2016. So Harrison and Adams renew that rivalry in that match of October the 5th. And then, of course, October the 12th, they are at Groves. Of course, Harrison's lost the last 2 meetings to the Falcons. 2 home games, especially 2 of them, I think they were overtime games. So 2 heartbreaking games last year for Harrison against Groves. And then they close out the year, Parents' Night, Seniors' Night, October 19th against Farmington. Harrison's won the last 12 of their last 13 meetings against Farmington. So, it's going to be a very interesting matchup there between Harrison and Farmington. I mean, like, it's tough for me because, for Harrison and their final season of the school, you feel real bad for John Harrington, that this is going to be the final year for Harrison as a school and as a team, and Harrison's had a lot of success, 13 state championships. This is a team this is a team and a legendary man in John Harrington, the state's all-time winningest coach all-time. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens this year with Harrison this year. So let's go from Harrison, let's go to Oak Park. Of course, this is a team that has got a lot of talent coming back and a lot of expectations. So when you look at Oak Park, very successful under Coach Greg Carter. So here's Greg Carter at the podium talking about his Knights. Got a lot of talent coming back.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Greg Carter. This is my 8th year at Oak Park High School. Time really flies. Seems like I just got in the OAA, but hey, like everybody else has mentioned up here, I'm going to echo it again. The OAA is a fantastic conference filled with outstanding coaches and really, really good football players. So we're excited again to look forward to this upcoming season. We play some great teams. Our schedule is brutal. We open up with Utica Eisenhower, followed by Groves, which is a great opponent. Then Coach Harrington. The last time we played Coach Harrington, thanks to me, Coach, you tied the record. Congratulations for most wins in the state. And one thing that I tell my program is when we look at other programs from afar, just look how that program plays. That is one of the programs that certainly plays for the name on the front of their jersey, not the name on the back. That's a tribute to you, Coach, and your program. It's an outstanding program. Even that night, you had a whole lot of ex-players come back to see you, and that's just a testament to what you guys do at Harrison. Coach Harrington, you're one of my favorite coaches. I know you used to go against Coach Thompson before me at the Poors, and it's just been a pleasure to participate against you. And maybe I can get you on my staff next year. We'll see about that. Again, I mentioned it was my 8th season. I want to congratulate and thank Coach Vernon for allowing all of us to be here to celebrate the upcoming season. Last year we were 9-3. We lost to 3 teams that, we have to look at that program and see what it's all about. We lost to 3 teams that were multiple state championship winners. So we're trying to take that next step, to figure out how to get past some of these tough opponents in the playoffs. But we're just honored to be here. I'm going to let these guys introduce themselves. They don't want to do it, but I'm going to have them do it anyway. They're a bunch of great guys. We tried to get our quarterback to come here today, but he got tied up. He had an unexpected appointment. But we've been getting some outstanding leadership from our kids all summer, and these 3 guys behind me definitely are a reason that we had an outstanding summer. We'll start up here.
So Jennings, junior defensive end.
Orion Richardson, running back, corner, senior.
Justin Rogers, offensive lineman, defensive line, junior.
Well, again, we look forward to participating. We're not looking forward to starting our season, as I mentioned, the first 3 games, but we end the season with some great opponents. Our 8th game against West Bloomfield seemed like everybody except for a coach are excited to play. All of our coaches are talking about the game, and Coach now look at each other and say, we don't want to do it, so maybe we won't show up to that game. Let them handle it, Coach. And then followed by a great Clarkston program. Again, another program that plays for that name on the front of their jersey and not necessarily for the name on the back. Everybody have a great season. We look forward to seeing you. We'll be rooting for everybody.
Oak Park's got a boatload of talent back. Of course, when you look at, Justin Rogers, who is one of the top players in the entire state of Michigan, especially as a junior heading into next year. Of course, you have Dwan Mathis, who's an Ohio State commit. Players like Torino Richardson is going to be very solid at running back. Enzo Jennings has mentioned he's going to be very solid at defensive end. So when I look at Oak Park, what's the thing that's been knacking about them? Of course, they don't really have a lot of true weaknesses. the regional. Of course, the regional last 2 years under Carter, of course, 2012 they lost to Wyandotte Roosevelt, and then last year, of course, losing to Warren De La Salle. So I talked to Carter about addressing that lack of regional success, especially heading into the season. I got one of the best coaches in the game, Oak Park coach Greg Carter here.
How you doing today?
I'm good. You?
Good, I'm fine, thank you.
Let's talk about Oak Park. You got a lot of talent coming back. Looking forward to the year. What's your thoughts heading in the year with this group?
They've put in some hard work, and that's what you have to do. Even though you have a talented team, that's not enough. You got to put that work in to see where you wind up at the end of the season. So I'm expecting our kids to come out the bat strong and play hard this year.
One thing that has been a question for you guys, of course, you've been to the regional final the last 2 times in your career, but you haven't been able to get past that hump. What's the talk about that thought. Have you put that in the mindset of your kids?
Yeah, they definitely know about it. We played a game against, the eventual champion in Warren De La Salle, and we thought, that game could go either way. Unfortunately, it didn't go our way, but, you can't cry about that. De La Salle was definitely deserving. So we just decided we wanted to work a little harder. It's just putting in more work each and every year and get more committed to the cause, and that cause is winning the state championship.
What is your expectation this year, Coach Carter?
Our expectation is to be really, really competitive, to give everybody that we play our best shot, and then we'll see where the chips fall.
Thank you real much, Coach Carter.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
When you look at Oak Park, this is a team that has always played a daunting schedule to open up. The last few years it's been Detroit Cass Tech. Of course, they've played some serious powerhouse teams. Now this year for Oak Park, they do open up in a rematch with Utica Eisenhower. Of course, last year, Oak Park lost 24-7 at Wayne State last year. That game is going to be also be back at Wayne State. Of course, Oak Park would really like to get on with the big win on the right track with a big win against Utica Eisenhower. They got a great shot to do that this year. Of course, considering Utica Eisenhower has to replace a ton of talent that was lost from last year. And then, of course, the next game for Oak Park will be at Groves. Of course, that'll be a very interesting matchup. Of course, Oak Park won 34-14 last year. Now the game's in Beverly Hills, and Beverly Hills is not an easy place to play. So it'll be a tough matchup for Oak Park going up against Groves. So in that matchup. And then September the 7th, they play Harrison. Of course, Oak Park lost at Harrison last year, 17-14. Now that game's at Night Valley, so it's a 6 o'clock kickoff. So I'll be curious to see how Harrison responds to having to play at 6 o'clock against Oak Park to open up the home stretch of Oak Park season. And then, of course, they have another home game on September the 14th when they play Stony Creek. And that's going to be another interesting matchup. Of course, last year, Oak Park won 48-0 over the Cougars in that one. And then, of course, September the 21st will be the first meeting since 2010 for Oak Park going against Troy Athens, where Oak Park lost 37-16. But as mentioned, this is a different Oak Park team under Coach Carter. Of course, Carter came into Oak Park the following year back in 2011. Then, of course, on September 28th, they play Troy at Troy. Of course, last year was not even fun for Troy. Of course, it was 41-0 in favor of Oak Park over Troy. And then, of course, October the 5th, they host Rochester. Of course, last year the Knights won 48-0 at Rochester over the Falcons to open up Rochester's new home field. And then, of course, the two games, as mentioned, of course, in the month of October, very, very daunting. They got to play West Bloomfield at Oak Park. It's the first meeting since 2011, of course, when Oak Park beat West Bloomfield 18-16. It'll be a great coaching match between Ron Bellamy and Greg Carter there. And then, of course, they close out the year. October the 19th, Oak Park has to go to Clarkston to take on the Wolves. Of course, this is going to be the first meeting since 2016 when Oak Park beat Clarkston in Night Valley 14-7. So very interesting matchup to say the least for Oak Park. Very daunting schedule to say the least for them heading into the year. So Oak Park right now, a lot of people say this is a very nice pick to be a state championship contender. They are a state championship contender. They just got to get by that regional hump. So it'll be very interesting to see what Oak Park has heading into the year. But expect a lot of great things at Night Valley heading in the year for Coach Greg Carter and his staff and his team. So let's go from Oak Park. Let's go to the Rochester Falcons. This is a football team that has really had some trouble the last few years. So Here is Eric Vernon explaining the state of the Falcons heading into the year.
All right, as mentioned before, my name is Eric Vernon, head football coach here at Rochester High School. And again, thank you to everybody that took time to come out today. Kind of sitting here thinking about OAA football, I truly believe that when you think about the strength of the league, and again, I think the OAA is the strongest league in the state, but you think of the strength of the league, I believe that a lot of it has to do with the history and experience of the coaches that are in charge of the league. And Coach Harrington is going to get a lot of love this year, as much deserved. But we got so many great coaches in this league on top of that as well. Just kind of going down the list, we have 5 coaches who have coached in and won state titles. Coach Harrington, Coach Richardson from Clarkson, Coach Carter, Oak Park, Coach Raleigh, Oxford, Coach Petrito over at Adams. And when you're a young coach starting out, if you're any good and you really want your program to be where you want it to go, it's important to make sure that you spend time looking at those coaches and seeing what do they do with their program. So much more than obviously wins and losses during the season. It's how you build the program from the ground up. They're great role models, and they're always willing to help out, and that's the same for all the other coaches in the league as well. It's great to call coaches and say, hey, I'm struggling with this, or I really need some help defensively with this, and they're more than willing to meet with you, and that's what makes this league, I think, so great. And that's something that, for a lot of the young coaches as well, encourage us to continue, because it just helps grow this program, or grow this league. As far as Rochester High School, I have brought 4 guys that have been with me for a really long time. A couple years ago, we were certainly rebuilding, and we, like a lot of other schools, kind of made the commitment to play some younger guys early. And 3 of these 4 guys have been with me since their freshman year, or part of their freshman year. And another one has been with me since his sophomore year. So they got a lot of experience. And I'm going to let them, they didn't want to talk, just like a lot of these other guys, but I'm going to give them a chance to come up and just introduce themselves real quick. So.
My name's Orion. I'm a tight end and defensive end.
I'm Gabe Safran. I'm a senior DB wide receiver.
I'm Drake Reed. I'm a senior DB and wide receiver.
David Robinson, senior O-line, D-line.
So last year, we were 3-6, and obviously that's not what we want to be. We've worked really hard this offseason. We talk about the football program and this expectations for this year. Obviously, I think we have a lot of experience coming back. And with these young men, the leadership that they've shown in the offseason, our numbers in the program are higher than they've been in a really long time. Fielding all 3 teams with a whole lot of people. I think we'll have over 120, 115 kids in the program, which as a coach, you walk the halls, you try to get people to do it, but it really starts with these guys. And the leadership that they've shown all offseason, leadership they've shown coming to the weight room. They're all multi-sport athletes as well. So the commitment they've had to football, on top of the commitment to basketball and track and all the other sports they play, has really been something that makes me honored to coach them. And Coach Raleigh mentioned it. We wouldn't be here without the players. You guys put a lot of work in, more than when I played in high school, I can admit it. I mean, the amount of hours you put in working out, the amount of hours you put in just being involved in football is amazing. We couldn't do it without you. As coaches, we thank you for your commitment to the sport. It is the greatest sport on earth, and there's nothing better than Friday Night Lights. And this year, we're looking forward to, again, hopefully a good year, and again, just can't say enough about these young men. So thank you, appreciate it.
Rochester is in a very interesting spot. They're 23-40 since 2011. However, 10-26 since 2014. They've allowed a lot of points defensively. 1,125 points since 2013. 283 points allowed last year. That's not good coming in there. So I talked to Vernon about this defensive issue in my interview. Eric? I got Rochester coach Eric Vernon here, of course. Last season was kind of a rough year for you guys, 3-6, a lot of injuries. Your defense is a big concern heading into the year. Talk about that.
Yeah, that last year obviously didn't turn out the way we wanted it to, but one of the good things, one of the bright spots is that we were able to play a lot of younger guys. We have a lot of experience coming back. Our big thing will just be to see if we can be physical and aggressive enough on the defensive front compete against some of the teams in our league that run the ball really well and have very physical offensive lines.
Talk about your quarterback, Owen Malinowski. Of course, last year he had to step in for an injured Brent Birchall. How has Owen's development been for you guys?
You know, he's done a really good job. I've been really impressed with him. He's a baseball kid, kind of first and foremost. He was the #1 pitcher on the baseball team, and his arm strength has improved immensely from the work that he put in just with baseball. And you know, he's working on his footwork. He's pitched in some big games. And last year getting that experience has really helped him out. I'm excited to see him. He doesn't shy away from the lights. So,
what is your expectation this year, Coach?
I mean, obviously I expect to be better. I think having the experience that we have coming back, we were able to pick up a couple kids who moved into the district, and I think they'll be helpful to us as well. If we stay healthy, I think just with our senior leadership, we should be better.
Thank you real much, Coach.
Thank you.
As mentioned with the 3 transfers Rochester added, they added one from Wall Lake Northern, one from Troy Athens, and the other one from Stony Creek. So it'll be very interesting to see what Rochester has heading into the year. But when you look at the schedule, it could be a challenge for them. Of course, they open up the year at home against Rochester Adams. Of course, Rochester has not beaten Adams since 1996, and that has been it's been 21 years since they've beaten Rochester Adams, of course. And it could be a very tough task, especially going up against Adams, even though it's at home, but something's got to give if Rochester wants to beat Adams this year. But 21 years, it's been long enough for them. And then they got to play Southfield Arts and Tech. They played them in 2015 when Rochester had a chance to make the playoffs. Now, this is a team that's not made the playoffs since 2010 in Rochester, though. So, in Southfield beat them 42-7 back in 2015. Of course, Rochester finished 5-4 that year, did not make the playoffs that year. Troy Athens, they play them on week 3 over at Athens. It's the first meeting since 2015. That'll be a very interesting matchup between the Red Hawks and the Falcons there. September the 14th, they play Groves. That last year was 31-13 last year for Groves over Rochester in Beverly Hills. This year's meetings in Rochester. September 21st against Troy. Of course, the last 2 meetings that these two teams have had has went down the wire. 7-point games. Of course, Rochester's lost the last 2 meetings against the Colts by a combined 14 points. So it's going to be I think it's going to be a really good matchup over at Troy between Rochester and Troy. And then September the 28th, they got to play Harrison. That's going to be a very daunting match for Rochester. Of course, Harrison has outscored Rochester 114-15 in their last 3 meetings. That's not a good stat to have. And then, of course, week 7, they play at Oak Park. Of course, Oak Park has outscored Rochester 144-0 in their last 3 meetings. And then, of course, week 8, they play Stony Creek. And Rochester's got a losing record against Stony Creek. They're 4-5 against them in their team history. And they close out the year at Bloomfield Hills against the Blackhawks, where Rochester lost 40-13 to Bloomfield Hills back in 2016. So Rochester's got a lot against them right now, but they got a lot of experience and a lot of height surrounding this team. But their defense has to improve if they want to make the playoffs for the first time since 2010. So a lot going against Rochester right now, but there's some things that are for them right now. If they can address their line situation besides David Robinson, I think this could be a team that could surprise some folks this year. So my thoughts on Rochester, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens, but they have to win their first game against Adams. That's not going to be an easy game, of course. They have not beaten Adams since 1996. So we see what happens with Rochester going forward. When we come back, we're going to talk 2 more teams here on the OAA Now Football Preview Show, the White Edition. Welcome back to a special OAA Now Media Football Preview Show here, White Edition. I'm Sammy Termina here. We're going to talk about the Stony Creek Cougars. Of course, this has been a team that's had some really tough times the last 2 years under then Coach Bob Lancey, 5-15 in the last 2 years, but now he's no longer coaching the team. And enter Nick Merlo. Of course, Nick Merlo has created a new culture surrounding the Stony Creek community, bringing up the team, Armor Up. So here's Nick Merlo at the podium talking about his team.
Good afternoon. My name is Nick Merlo. It's my first year at Stony Creek High School. We're very excited about the upcoming season. We're going to have our players introduce themselves. These players are senior leaders on our team that really bought into Armor Up culture and change what's coming to Stony Creek. So I'm going to start down here.
Hi, my name is Danny Nixon. I'm a senior offensive lineman.
Frank Potenza, senior quarterback. Kyle Toast, linebacker. Jake Rapetta, senior DN. Thanks again for having us out. It's a great event for our players and our league, and we wish everyone the best of luck. Thank you.
As mentioned, Stony Creek is 8-19 since 2015. A lot that has to be addressed for the Cougars program if they want to go forward this upcoming season. So I got a chance to talk to Nick Merlo about how the culture has been going around the Stony Creek community and his expectations and my concerns about his team heading into the year. I got the new coach of Team Armor Up, Nick Merlo here, of course. Nick, welcome to the OAA.
Hey, thanks, Sammy. Thanks for having me.
Let's look at Stony Creek, of course, the improvements that you have. One thing that's very concerning to me is the line play. Talk about your line a little bit.
We got some great young linemen working hard in the weight room, working hard in the field. Can't wait to see what they do. And defensively, we got two of our defense linemen coming back, and they're looking really good, looking strong.
I want to get your thoughts about the matchup with Utica Ford. Of course, you know they've went through a lot of issues. Talk about that matchup personally against playing an interesting team like Utica Ford.
You know, our hearts and thoughts and prayers go out to the families of the Ford community, and you know, coached at Stony Creek before he was the coach at Ford. So it's going to be a very emotional game for the Falcons at Ford, and we look forward to playing them.
What are your expectations, Coach?
You know, play our very best and to create some elite men of character.
Armor Up this year.
That's right. Thanks, Sammy.
Yep. Stony Creek's culture, as mentioned, is Armor Up. So when you look at the Cougars, of course, they have new uniforms, new attitude, new mental mindset, which is always a good thing heading into the year. But when you look at Stony Creek's schedule, it's pretty challenging. When you look at, of course, as mentioned, they open up at Utica Ford. Of course, Utica Ford has gone through a lot lately with their passing of their head coach, Todd Cohen, who passed away in early July. Thoughts and prayers to him and his family and that Ford community from the OAA Now and ONTV family here. But last year for Stony Creek, of course, they went into Runkle Field last year and beat Utica Ford 19-12. Of course, Runkle Field is the field where Utica Ford and Sterling Heights Stevenson share with each other. Stony Creek went in there and won 19-12 last season. And then, of course, week 2, they play Troy. That'll be a very interesting matchup. Of course, last year, Stony Creek lost 7-3 to Troy a year ago, so that'll be a very interesting matchup there. September 7th, they play Groves. Of course, Stony Creek lost 14-3 last season. That'll be a very unique matchup there. And then, of course, September the 14th, they're at Oak Park. They lost 48-0 a year ago. I mean, like, that was really, really hard to take a year ago there. And then, of course, September 22nd, Saturday afternoon, homecoming for Harrison. 1 o'clock start time. Stony Creek will hope to rebound from a 47-8 loss last year. It was not a good field for them a year ago in that one. And then September 28th, Oxford for Stony Creek against them. Of course, Stony Creek has lost the last three meetings to Oxford. It's a very interesting matchup there, how that's going to unfold there. October the 5th, they play Troy Athens. Stony Creek won 35-7 against them in 2016. And then, of course, week 12 against Rochester, whereas the Cougars are 5-4 all-time against Rochester. And then, of course, their last game of the year, they're at Adams, 1-8 against Adams all-time. So, of course, you're playing their two city rivals to close out the year of October. So it could be very interesting to see where Stony Creek is at heading in the year. I really like their quarterback in Frank Patesma. He's going to be a really good quarterback for them. Their defensive line is one of their strengths. Even their line is a concern for me. Secondary should be a big-time concern for me heading in for the Cougars. Now, if they can be physical, if they can create that culture early on, I think Stony Creek could surprise some folks this year when you look at the Cougars. And then let's go to our last team of the day here in the white division. It's the Troy Colts. Of course, the Colts last year made the playoffs in their first year, Coach Chris Frazier. A lot of expectation now that Troy did make the playoffs for the first time since 2009. So here's Chris Frazier at the podium this year.
All right, hello everyone. My name is Chris Frazier. It's my second year as the head coach at my alma mater, Troy High School. The first thing I want to do personally, as last year was my first year, I want to thank some coaches that helped me out. So Coach McMahon, thanks a lot for everything you did. Coach Bellamy, thanks for all the tips you gave me. So again, this league is all about really good people, really good coaches, and I appreciate everything you did to help me out in my last year. To add on to what the people said about the players, thank you guys for allowing us old guys to be around the game that we love. If it wasn't for you guys, we wouldn't be around, so we appreciate everything you've done. Last year was a successful year for Troy High. We made the playoffs, first time in a long, long time, so we appreciate everything that the kids did last year. A lot of it was about leadership, and the 4 guys behind me have continued that leadership. With our leadership, we're hoping to have 3 teams this year. A lot of guys kind of showed up on the doorstep that haven't been around the program, and again, it wasn't because of me, it wasn't because of the coaches, it was because of what they did. So I'm going to let them introduce themselves. After they're done, just want to say good luck to everyone. We're looking forward to starting it off at midnight on Sunday night, and good luck to everyone.
Matt Lenahan, senior quarterback. Cole Hayden, senior offensive line, defensive line. Matt Johansson, senior wide receiver and corner.
Jake Volek, senior linebacker and center.
Thanks again and good luck.
In Troy's losses last year in the playoffs, they have lost to their losses to the 3 teams mentioned last year, Oak Park, Groves, and Harrison. They lost by a combined 92-6. And then if you include their playoff loss the year ago to Waterford Mott, it is 125-6. That's not good. Last year, Troy scored less than they allowed last year. They scored 145 points a year ago, but they allowed 203 points last season. So let's be very interested to see what Troy has heading into the year. When you look at the schedule for Troy, I mean, it is not easy when you look at this schedule. Of course, last season, a lot of people say, well, they had to beat the teams they were supposed to beat, but they did that and they got in the playoffs. Now, the team they beat last year that got them in the playoffs is the game against Avondale. Of course, Avondale was a playoff team a year ago. They won 45-28 in Auburn Hills last year. They open up with them this year at home. So that'll be on a Thursday night. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens there in that matchup there. And then August 30th, also on a Thursday, they play Stony Creek. Of course, last year Troy beat Stony Creek 7-3 in a defensive slugfest. Of course, that will be a very interesting matchup for them. And then, of course, September 7th is going to get a little daunting when you look at the word Clarkston on there. That's not going to be easy for Troy because Clarkston, loaded team. It's going to be a test for Troy to see where they're at against a very, very good front that Clarkston brings, and of course 2 very good running backs that they have. So that'll be very interesting for Troy in that one. September the 14th, they play Harrison on the road. Last year was 30-3. They were beat last year by that, and it was not a good feeling there. September the 21st, they play Rochester. They won the last 2 games, as mentioned, by a combined 14 points. So that'll be a good matchup for Troy and Rochester. It'll be a really good game at home for them. And then September the 28th, they play Oak Park. Of course, last season, the Knights handed Troy a 41-0 loss. So that'll be something that hopefully Troy will try to bounce back and try to get that game back. And then October the 5th, they play Groves on the road. Of course, last year Troy lost 21-3 at home to Groves a year ago. So that'll be very interesting to see what happens there. October the 12th, their rivalry game with Troy Athens. They're 7-4 against Troy since 2006. Last year they had a 20-19 win last year that stunned a lot of people in Troy. Of course, that was a big win for the Colts last year, beating Troy Athens. And then they close out the year at Hurley Field on October the 19th. Of course, they won last year at home 24-9 over the Bears. Of course, Berkeley's got a whole new staff now. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with Berkeley for Troy this year, especially in that match against Berkeley. So when you look at the Colts, their strengths are their secondary on defense. They got a lot of skill position players. The weakness for them, of course, as mentioned, their offensive line, lack of size. I mean, like, that's what they said. But they got they got a very good quarterback, Matt Lenahan, coming back. Defense is supposed to be strong. I mean, like, but we'll see what happens this year for Troy. Of course, if they want to get back into the playoffs, they're going to have to beat some teams to get back into the playoffs. Of course, Avenel's not going to be an easy game for them. I mean, like, the whole schedule is not going to be easy for Troy. So especially now when you put Clarkson on that plate, that's never going to be an easy thing heading into the year. My white projections heading into the year, of course, they're very interesting. My favorite has to be Oak Park, of course, as mentioned, with the talent they have back. This is a team that could do some significant damage, maybe even make a state playoff run this year. Groves is another team I'm high on. I like what Brendan Flaherty's done with that team. I think this is a team that can make some noise this year. Harrison's another one that I think, the final years of school, I think at Harrison, they're right there in the thick of it. I really like the fact that what Harrington has, the lack of depth does concern me with Harrison. Troy Athens is a wild card team, in my opinion. I think that Troy Athens, last year 0-9, trying to take baby steps. 4 wins would be great for them. They win 5 games, it'll be great for them. But I like Troy Athens. I think they're a year away, very similar to that road to North Farmington, that I think they're a year away from being great. And then you look at Rochester, I think that that experience matters in a league like this, but when you look at the schedule, I think the schedule is going to be very daunting on them. Stony Creek, of course, they're putting together a program in there. I really think that the Cougars are going to be a team. Maybe in the future, I think they're going to be really, really good. I like Nick Merlot's team. I think they could do some damage, but the question's going to be is, can Stony Creek take that next step? It's gonna be hard the first year, especially having to go through a coaching transition, all that. Very similar to what Troy Athens is going to go with as well. And then Troy, when I look at Troy, I just think that the schedule is daunting. I think it's going to be a challenge for them. How Troy won last year, they had to squeak out a couple wins against some teams that, but I'm just concerned about Troy's mindset heading into the year, and I think that's going to be something that the Colts have coming into the year. So that's my concern with Troy heading into the year. So my preseason top 10, as mentioned in the white, the teams ranked here. I got Oak Park number 1 in the poll. I got Groves number 3, Harrison number 4, and then of course those are the teams right now that I like this division. The Whites have loaded the league. I mean, it's going to be a really interesting league. Oak Park, as mentioned, can make a serious run. Groves can make a serious run. Harrison can make a serious run. So, we'll see what happens heading into the year in the White division. Okay, now, this is Sammy Termini here. I'm going to sign off this week here. The Red division will be next week. You can look at my blog. The rankings will change every week at sammy@blogspot.com. We will do projections each week. And also, stay tuned to OAA Now for the latest updates surrounding all 23 OAA teams from the blue to the white and the red. So I will see you all next week. Take care, everybody.